Number 1, Vancouver. It's very obvious who you're going to take.
KK Harvey comes up in the draft and you can't say no. It doesn't matter what you need. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Raising the Game, a women's sports podcast covering primetime performers, the business behind the leagues and the athletes, and what the growth of women's sports means for the next generation of women's athletes.
Episode 24. We have a fun topic tonight.
We have a lot of fun topics.
We have a lot of fun topics. Always fun topics here.
Always fun topics.
Marketing in women's sports.
Yeah, specifically, this kind of came to fruition as an idea for us as we have started to watch the World Cup, the men's World Cup. Being hosted here in the States, started this past week and got us thinking about a couple different things that we want to talk about as it relates to women's sports, of course.
We'll hit the PWHL draft is on Wednesday, the day that you'll be listening to this.
Man, the drama continues.
Yes, it does.
There.
We've got a WNBA roundup.
A little bit of a roundup.
And we're going to talk U.S. Women's National Team versus Brazil.
Yeah.
Chaotic game.
Yeah, that one, it feels a little strange since that happened almost a week ago now.
Yeah, after we recorded.
And just right after we recorded, before we released last week's episode. But definitely have thoughts, definitely have feelings.
We got to talk about it.
Definitely have to talk about it.
All right, let's dig into favorite things.
Okay, so I have two this past week. So one for me was frankly seeing Serena Williams back on a tennis court. I had like a very significant stretch of time, like late high school, all through college, where I was obsessed with watching tennis.
Yep.
Never played. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But this was when Serena was kind of like in her prime. And I remember like getting up in college at like 3 a.m. to watch Australian Open finals and things like that. And so just to see her back, the way that her family was like so excited. And like we had talked last week about how one of the main reasons she wanted to come back was so her kids could see her play. And like, as a mom, I was like, this is amazing. A mom and a fan. And then my other favorite thing was we wrapped up the first grade girls rec soccer season this past weekend. Girls did great, had a great final game. But I have to give a shout out. Former player of mine actually came and like watched my daughter play.
That was great.
Which is really impactful. I think it speaks to like the relationships you can build with athletes when you coach, but also just like that love of supporting other like girls and women in sport. And so I want to thank her and thank the whole team for a really, really fun season.
Yeah, it was great. Actually, mine piggybacks off of that. I think I've used this first grade coaching experience of yours multiple times in favorite thing, but I think one of the quotes I heard from one of the girls was will you coach us next time, or something to that effect. And so I think that speaks just to the impact that you've had on these 5 to 7 first graders' lives. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of hugs at the end of the game, the last game, which was quite cute. So I think I'll miss them this week.
Yeah. All right, let's dig into these headlines. U.S. Women's National Team wins 1-0 over Brazil in chaotic friendly in Fortaleza.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'll share my thoughts on this game. Soph Wilson, again, creating a scoring opportunity that we were able to convert, classified as an own goal, but frankly, just an incredible individual effort by her. 8 red cards was probably the headline there.
Yeah.
But for me, coming out of that game, Dujinha, out midfielder forward for Brazil, it was announced by the Brazilian Soccer Federation that she tore her ACL. This is just a huge bummer as a fan of the game. She was playing so well for the Wave. And also like the timing. I'm like, are you back for the World Cup?
Yeah.
Like you're not 100%.
It's not gonna be great.
So Probably comment on it a little bit more later, but that was really heartbreaking to see just as a fan and knowing how her season was off to such a great start
Yeah.
for San Diego, creating so much for them. So
Yeah,
hate
absolutely.
to see that.
Gotham FC announced a new purpose-built training facility in Whippany, New Jersey. Whippany?
Uh, we'll ask the New
Yeah, they'll
Jerseyans.
yell at us.
How do you pronounce that? This is cool. This continues this trend we've been seeing of these like
Yep.
purpose-built women's training facilities. So 27,000 square feet, 3,000 square foot gym. They've
Mm.
got 3 full-size soccer pitches. One of them is heated, which
Ooh,
is
that's
nice
huge.
in New York as you get into the fall and even early season months there. So that is awesome to see. A ton of investment going on around that club, and you know we'll see where they take it from
Yeah.
there.
4 phases of PWHL expansion are complete. Entry draft upcoming on Wednesday in Detroit.
We'll get into this, but man, again, all the drama. There were like tampering
Yeah,
allegations
yeah,
last week, which like I don't know what sport doesn't
yeah,
really have
yeah.
that going on, and just so many different threads to pull here. But really excited for the draft
Yeah,
on
it's going to be really
Wednesday.
fun. In the WNBA, New York Liberty clinched a Commissioner's Cup final spot with their 7th win in a row, while Lynx fall just short of toppling last year's champions Las Vegas Aces in the West.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that game in our W segment, but I also just have to shout out like the performances this past
Yeah,
weekend were off the charts. So you had what do we got here? Like 8 players who scored 30 points or more. Starting on Thursday night, the Fever had Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark both break the 30-point
yep.
mark against Chicago. They both had double doubles. Meanwhile, you had Sydney Taylor coming off the bench for Chicago, played 20 minutes, scored 30 points for them,
Jeez.
which is
Point and a half a
incredible.
minute.
Yeah. You had Paige Beckers drop 31 against Phoenix. 24 of those were in the first half. She was just like unconscious. That was a game where she also rolled her ankle in the first half, and I think she
Oh,
played
yeah,
limited
yeah.
minutes in the
Yep.
second as a result. You had Asia drop 32 against Portland. Honorable mention in that game to the point guard, Chelsea Gray. She scored 29, just short of
Yeah,
my
just
30
shy.
benchmark, but 9 of 13 from 3.
Whew.
That's crazy. And we saw a little bit of that in the game against
Yeah,
the
we did.
Lynx. And then to round out those games, you had Kelsey Plum and Ka Copper going head to head, Los Angeles Spark, excuse me, versus the Phoenix
Yep.
Mercury, both breaking off 40 pieces.
Whew.
43 for Kelsey Plum, 41 for Ka Copper. I believe I read it's the first time that player from each opposing team has scored 40 in the W
Wow.
against one another.
All
So
right.
just some
Yeah.
incredible individual performances over the weekend.
We'll have Kelsey Plum come up later too as well.
Asia as well.
Serena Williams and Victoria Mboko win first match, but withdraw after Mboko suffers knee injury during singles match.
Yeah, bummer. They won quite convincingly, actually. And so that was fun to see. Hope that Vicky's okay,
Yeah.
right? She was kind of a rising talent, really
Yep.
kind of doing well. I haven't seen an update on that injury, but you don't have to wait long to watch Serena play. She's actually back in action tomorrow, which will be yesterday when you hear
Yeah.
this,
Yep.
at the Berlin Tennis Open. So she's partnering this time with Karolina Pliskova, and they're going to see how that goes with doubles. So
That's
hopefully we'll get to see her a little bit more.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize she was doing more. I thought this was like
Oh, no.
she's gonna.
Oh, y'all, there is like all the speculation that she's going to play at Wimbledon.
Yeah, I did
which
hear
is
that
at the
now
end
after
of
I
the
looked
month.
back into this,
Yeah.
so that'll be fun.
Speaking of,
Wimbledon announces it's raising this year's overall payout by 20% to 64.2 million pounds. Is that pounds?
yes, that's pounds. This is interesting because it comes on the heels of the French Open. And remember, we
Yeah.
spoke about the protests the players made about the percentage of revenues that they were getting relative, both men's and women's, relative to the federation. This number, obviously, the 20% exceeds the player's goal is 16%.
Okay.
So anything above that, I think they're feeling good about it. And then, like I just said, Wimbledon begins on June 29th. So
Coming up.
coming up, a couple weeks out here.
Kelsey Plum joins Adidas as brand sponsor, joining Satu Sabali and Aaliyah Boston, as well as retired WNBA icon Candace Parker.
Yeah, and I think we just made mention of this. There's actually quite a few different like brand deals and sponsorships going on, but KP with the tear she's on in the W right now, there was some like allusion to this partnership during the Unrivaled season.
Oh, that's
apparently.
right. That's right.
She got in trouble for wearing, I think, Adidas shoes or Adidas, however, wherever we're pronouncing that brand. But now it's been made official.
All right.
So.
All right, let's dig into this topic we've got this week. Marketing in women's sports, kind of calling this the new fan economy.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh,
take it off.
So the impetus for this, like I said in our kickoff, right, is sort of the Men's World Cup is going on right now, and you've got soccer everywhere. And I think in the past, domestic leagues here in the States or wherever it might be going on, women's teams would typically just kind of like take a back seat.
Yeah.
Right. They say, okay, this is going on. They're kind of, I mean, we're literally on a pause in the season right now.
We've talked about this all year about this pause coming up
because of the Men's World Cup. But what's different is the NWSL has done, the math, and they've said, let's not let this be a disruption. Let's actually lean into this and embrace it, because you're talking about fans from all over the world coming into the States and potentially getting exposed to the NWSL in ways that they wouldn't otherwise, right? We have a ton of international players who play here. And so can you draw some of that fan base towards your league? Right. And we're going to talk about why that's important here throughout this segment. So to kind of set the stage for us, or set the table a little bit, the NWSL is really thinking about the Men's World Cup like this market opportunity, right? They're calling it the Summer of Soccer Initiative. They have a tour bus basically that's like bouncing around to different locations, likely following the U.S. men's team. But then also stopping off at these kind of flagpole events for the NWSL. There's the Challenge Cup at the end of June, which pits the regular season champion from the league last year against the overall like tournament champion from the league last year. So you've got Gotham versus Kansas City. You've got Gotham playing in Citi Field in New York, where the Mets play, against Washington Spirit in July. That's also going to be happening during this time. So lots of opportunity for them to lean into this fan base. And what I was thinking about as I was working through this content was going back to the fans that you have potential to reach, just like to give a quick like stat on scale. 1.42 billion with a B people tuned in to watch the kickoff game to this World Cup between Mexico and South Africa. Soccer has a lot of fans.
It does. An eighth of the world.
An eighth of the world's population tuned in to watch that match. So the NWSL is saying, at least we can peel off 1%, right? Would be huge. And so they're saying it's there. Those fans love the beautiful game. And what their argument is now, and what the NWSL is banking on now, is that it's not a question of product quality anymore, which was a question in leagues past. We've talked about the different iterations that came before the NWSL. Now it's about exposure. And where can I go watch this game be played more, right? Because clearly people love it. So that's sort of the starting point for us here. I do want to read a quote from Rachel Epstein. So she's the relatively newly minted NWSL chief marketing officer. And so she's sort of behind this impetus, the Summer of Soccer. And she says, Quote, "This initiative is about meeting fans where they are, elevating our players and clubs, and creating new entry points into the league during one of the biggest soccer moments the country has ever hosted."
Yeah.
Right? And so I think she's really pushing for this. I think something else that's interesting is not only are they leaning into the World Cup, but just in general, they understand that their fan base is the demographic is different
Yep.
than it used to be,
Yeah.
right? And so really leaning into kind of that Gen Z FOMO idea. Their tagline for the
Yep.
season is "Imagine missing this." And if you've seen commercials, it's like Sophia Wilson or Trinity Rodman like being like, "Where were you when, Temwa Shawinga scored X
Yeah.
goal, or
Yeah.
Barbara Banda did this, or, so and so did that." And it's like you kind of create that sense of
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I want to be a part of that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting what you're talking about is how they brought in 1.4 billion fans across the world for that first game, is that you get these fans that are huge soccer fans that maybe don't have a chance to watch the NWSL, and we can kind of stack onto that. You have the second fan who is the I don't normally watch soccer at all,
Mhm.
but I'm going to watch it because my country
Is
is
participating.
participating,
Exactly.
right? And so now you've got this other fan that's like, can I find another piece of soccer? This is really fun. I decided I want to get into the game. Can
Right.
I find somewhere to watch
Yeah.
something else? And hopefully it's the NWSL is what
Right.
the NWSL is gunning for here.
Right, right. And that actually brings us to kind of our next part of this segment, right? Which is like what is the typical like
Yeah.
women's sports fan right now?
Yep.
And where are the segments in that population that maybe the women's sports leagues, NWSL, WNBA,
Yeah.
whoever it might be, haven't tapped into yet,
Yeah.
right? So there's been some research done recently for Sports Innovation Lab. They call it the Fan Project, and they're essentially looking at like what are these differences between men's and women's sports
Yep.
fans. And what they found was a couple things that we've actually talked about
Yeah.
here on the pod. So there's three things that I want to kind of bring up for us here in this conversation. So one is we know that women sports fans tend to be fans of women's
Yes.
sports.
Yep.
They don't tend to be like necessarily team loyal. They will tune in to any women's
Anything.
sporting
Yeah.
event. It can cross sports, it can cross teams, it can cross athletes,
Yep.
countries, it doesn't really matter, right? So that's the first point there. The second point is we also know that women's sports fans, women who are sports fans, I should say, so to be really clear, women who are sports fans are much more likely to buy merchandise,
Yep.
buy the season
Yeah.
ticket. So they are much more at a point right now where they're much more invested
Yep.
monetarily in these leagues and players
Yeah.
and whatever it might
We
be.
had a stat a few episodes ago when we talked about some of this where it's something like they're 30% more likely to buy the merch when presented it on social media or
Yes.
whatever it is, right?
Yes, exactly. And then the third thing, which is newer for us from this Sports Innovation Labs fan project, is this concept that they call the fluid fan. Um, Saying that out loud just now is like
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of sounded gross,
Well,
but it'll make sense in just a second. So what this means, or how they define this, was it's a fan that doesn't consume sports only on TV, but engages through digital media or social media, right? With the emphasis on storytelling, community access, and direct to consumer commerce. Why would that be common in women's sports, you might ask?
yep.
Because we haven't had a standard place
Yeah.
on regular broadcast television,
Yep.
right? So women's sports fans have actually become very savvy at figuring out where can I go
Yeah.
consume my sport, and we are only just now in the last couple of years really starting to open that aperture
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that it's easier to find them,
Yep.
kind of.
Kind
And we'll
of.
get into that in just a
Yep.
second. So I to point a point on that, like, women's sports fans didn't choose to be fluid fans.
Yes.
They had to out of
Yep.
necessity, and I think that's actually what creates, like, a uniqueness about that fan
Yeah.
base. Now, the other thing that's interesting about women's sports fans is that they actually are often new sports fans.
Yeah.
So
Net new sports.
net new sport. So they're that person who you just talked about with the World Cup. They go to a World Cup match or they watch a World Cup match because their country's playing. They don't really know anything about soccer, but now they're like, I want more of
Yes.
this,
Yep.
right? And that is probably what happened across a lot of these leagues. I saw a statistic that some significant percentage, I think it was like over 80% of
Yep.
season ticket holders in the PWHL have never bought an
Oof.
NHL like game ticket,
Could you imagine
right?
if the NHL or anyone else could do that in their stats? That
Yeah,
would be
right.
insane.
So I think that's really important, and I think you want to talk a little bit about like how this differs
Yeah.
from the men's
Yeah, I think
sports
it's
fans
a super
base.
interesting like contrast point here where a lot of men's sports fans kind of grow up learning their loyalties and allegiances from, your family, where you grow up, your friends, things like that.
Right.
And so I think a lot of that is just kind of ingrained as you grow up that you're going to be loyal to your teams and not necessarily the leagues. Whereas we're seeing a lot of women's sports fans are, like you said, they're fans of anything that
Anything.
they can get their hands on, right? And so I think that's just a really interesting contrast, and we see it with us too. Like we're obviously very much entrenched in men's sports for Minnesota,
Mhm.
obviously the women's sports too, but we have favorite teams and leagues that we watch just because they're women's sports, right?
Yeah.
We're watching like everything. Um, I think one of the interesting quotes that we had from the Collective Faces report by the
Yeah.
Wassermans, Debbie Smith or Daniel Smith at BP said, "You don't hear someone say I'm a men's sports fan, but women's sports fans do say that. It's their core identity."
Right.
And so I think that's really interesting how you have loyalty to a team versus loyalty to like the whole of the community.
Yeah, and I think there's an interesting concept there of those fans like wanting to see success or like even like almost evangelize like
Yeah.
the entirety of the league or multiple leagues. Like think
Yeah.
about what we're doing here, right? We're talking about all the leagues
Yep.
because they're
Yeah.
all important and we want all of them to grow and be successful. Whereas like you don't see Minnesota Vikings fans supporting Green Bay Packers.
No, not at all.
Like, you would never see
Yeah.
that, right? And now, there are like, don't get me wrong, there are rivalries
Oh
in
yeah,
these
big
women's
time. Big
leagues.
time.
So, like, it's not that there's not rivalries, it's not that we all play nice on the playground. It's just that there's a different investment in the level of success
Yes.
wanted by those fans of the women in the
Yeah.
women's leagues.
Yep. I think next we talk a little bit about that growth. What I wanted to do here is actually just throw out a few quotes, and we can kind of discuss some of those. First one, 50% of female sports fans have become fans within the last 5 years, compared to 39% for male sports fans. So going kind of back to that, new fan
Yep.
rate there.
Mhm.
The other thing we have here is between 2022 and 2024, revenue from women's sports grew 4.5 times faster than revenue for men's sports. So obviously not outgaining them, but outpacing the rate of growth on the
Mhm.
revenue. And then the other one I thought interesting here was televised games from the WNBA, NCAA women's basketball, and the NWSL reached approximately 370 million viewer hours in 2024, up 430% from 2021.
Yeah, I think the important thing to note here too is you're seeing all of that growth in revenue, viewership, like however you want to slice it, on the backs of this like the fluid fan, right?
Yep.
And the new to sports fan.
Yeah.
And so going back to how we opened talking about the NWSL's marketing play here with the World Cup, they're like, we're doing this with this like really kind of niche and unique group of
Yep.
fans that we've
Yep.
talked about here a lot on the podcast. What happens if we can get out and convert fans,
Yeah.
existing fans, or some other segment,
Yeah.
right? Because they're already seeing this like astronomical growth relative to this new fan base. So when we say, a 430% increase in viewer hours, like that's a structural shift. It's not just like we gained a bunch of new fans or people are like watching more. It's also the access,
Yeah.
right? We are getting the broadcast deals.
Yep.
We are getting more opportunity to watch. I mean, the WNBA this year has like an unprecedented number of games on national television.
Yeah.
You've got the PWHL really seems to be angling for that national broadcast deal here in the States. The NWSL signed their huge broadcast deal a
Yep.
couple years back. And so now that people can see it,
Yep.
they are watching. We talked about this last week
Yep.
with one of our headlines. It was like so many people were watching I think it was the women's college softball World
Yep.
Series. It's like people will watch this if you put it on TV.
Yeah, if you can put it out there.
Then that brings us to our last part of this segment.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit about like this gap in accessibility that women's sports fans, have had to navigate.
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of think of it as like everyone listening, you open up your phone, you want to see a men's sports score. What is the first thing you do? You hit the ESPN app. You're going to have your scores pop right up, right?
Yep.
What do you do when you want to find your NWSL scores? You can maybe try pulling up ESPN. You're going to have to dig for a while if it's even there, right?
Yep.
Like I think that's one of the most interesting things is that it's not as accessible.
Readily
like
accessible. Yeah. And I think there's an element of if we don't specifically gender the search, you will get men's results back only, right? So if I go into Google because I want to see the basketball scores, I'll get the NBA.
Yeah.
It will default to the NBA, right?
Even if we're mid-season WNBA and that
Yeah,
NBA season's over, it's like, do you mean the final scores?
Yeah, it'll
like
be
from
like
2
the
months
Knicks
ago?
game.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure like Siri or Alexa
Yeah.
has definitely done that. So there's some data to back this up. We're not just spitballing here. So there's a 30-year study done between USC and Purdue University that found that in 2021, 95% of television coverage was directed at men's sports. This includes shows like Sports Center, right, where they're talking about all sports, right? This has gone up slightly in the last 5 years. We now are at about 15%, so 85 for men's sports coverage. But there's still this gap, right? We just talked about the search gap. We talked about the app gap. I like dare our listeners right now, like go into the ESPN app if you have it and see what scores come up. There's like a bunch 100%. Of WNBA games that would have happened. The NBA finals are over. Congrats to the Knicks. But like, you'll see.
I feel like this next little bit is really interesting to me as someone who studied computer science and IT in school, because this is something that is baked into a lot of computer systems these days. And it's that Google acknowledged in 2023, its system struggled with like that gender ambiguous sports queries. Like you said, they had to do a lot of work to like manually fix these. And like, we do see that in things like this in AI, where it's like gender based, like gender bias towards men, race bias towards white people. Like it happens all the time in computer science, and it's happening now with women's sports.
Exactly. So, you go try to find those scores, right? You get nothing, you get a redirect. But when you go on social media, insane engagement, right? Women's sports content dominated social media engagement charts in 2025, with 8 of the top 10 most engaged sports properties on socials belonging to WNBA teams. We also saw this with Unrivaled. Like they did a fantastic job with their social media. But now what we're doing is we're tying that fluid fan, right,
Yep.
together. They've tried to solve the problem of that gap, right? And so you're seeing more engagement in digital and social media,
Yeah.
right, than you would in, kind of the generic ways
Yeah.
that we see men's sports delivered to us. So what is backing us all the way up, right? What does this all mean? When you have low coverage, right?
Yep.
That then is going to translate into lower measurable audience,
Yep.
which is then going to translate into lower investment, which then is going to translate into less coverage.
Yeah.
What we consistently see is that when there is coverage, people do watch.
Yeah.
So it's a fallacy to believe that people do not want to watch women's
Yes.
sports. I'm wearing a very appropriate hat
Yeah.
today.
Maybe nobody was watching women's sports because it wasn't being shown, right?
Right.
Exactly. That's how this vicious circle kind of works.
Right. Exactly.
If you build it, they will come,
As they say.
So
closing this out, we wanted obviously to highlight this given the World Cup and the NWSL's play here. They're really trying to reach a fan who maybe didn't come from sports at all, right? They're there for the culture, the values, the storytelling, but you got to convert kind of that curiosity piece, and they have to be able to find the game in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
So going back to your example at the beginning of like that fan who just was like, oh, this looks like a fun time with my friends. And like now they want more.
Yeah.
How are you there? How are these leagues there ready to take that on, provide that access to these these fans, to the players?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I mean we could go really in depth on this. You could do a whole hour and a half long podcast. I think it's super interesting what goes into
marketing,
especially all these studies that are coming out lately talking about all of this.
Yeah. Well, and you think back to our episode, I don't know if it was like 15 or something we went through the Deloitte
the Game Changers
report, right? And they're projecting women's sports is going to be a $3 billion industry by the end of this year.
Yeah.
That happens because of the moves that these CMOs and whoever might be are taking to bring in more fans, to sign the broadcast deals, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, fun times. Let's dig in to the PWHL. We have a draft coming up the day that this releases, but first we're going to talk about a couple of the coaching updates, and then we'll dig into draft order and who we think is going to go and where in that first round. So you want to take this one away? You want to go with this one?
We're down to one vacancy, folks. Yes. One official vacancy. There's some rumors swirling there. I'll let you speak to that because I think you did the reading up on that. But Seattle named Christine Bumstead to their head coaching position over the week. Previously, she was an assistant coach for the Torrent, which is pretty cool. They obviously have only been around for a season, so But I liked this. I liked like the kind of the pipeline. She knows the organization. She knows some of the players that are remaining. She kind of has probably that connection with their like overall leadership, GM, et cetera. And they can start to kind of shape and craft that team versus bringing in somebody from the outside. Although I will say that is probably less disruptive this time around because the teams are all getting basically shook up anyways. Boston, we already talked about this last week, but Francois Mateau. Toronto, we did confirm that Pascal Réaume, brother of Manon Réaume, the GM of the Detroit PWHL team,
who doesn't really watch the league.
I wasn't like stoked about some of the stuff I read. He said he doesn't really know the players.
Doesn't really know.
Hasn't watched the league. He's just like, sure.
I wish I could get a job. Be like, I know technology. I don't know this technology, but I know technology, so it works, before, right?
He is a former NHL player. He played for 9 seasons. He's coached some lower league Canadian teams. You mentioned
the Iowa Wild, the Minnesota Wild affiliate.
Yep. And then kind of has bounced around the lower levels of the Canadian and American leagues. But we'll see what happens.
See what happens with those statements. So,
and then Vegas, we confirmed.
Yes, officially today it was released.
Yes, that Kim Weiss, who was the assistant coach for the Colorado Eagles, an AHL hockey team, will coach the PWHL Las Vegas team next season.
Yeah, and then in Vancouver, still open. Just waiting. We don't have them. They might not have one for the draft. There are some rumors swirling. Again, these are purely rumors, nothing confirmed, that the GM Kara Gardner-Mori may consider a dual role there and be both GM and head coach.
So join Troy Ryan of PWHL San Jose in that.
Exactly. All right. That is our coaching update.
Let's talk draft.
We got the draft order about 4 hours before we started recording this. They gave it to us 48 hours before the actual draft starts.
Hey, at least we got it. Yeah. I don't know what we were going to talk about in this segment otherwise.
A lot of guessing.
A lot of guessing.
All right.
It's still going to be a lot of guessing.
Y'all. We'll go in order here. We'll just kind of list off what order we have. We have at number 1, Vancouver. Pick 2, Seattle. Pick 3 is Detroit's, but the news that's out there is that Vegas will get this pick in return for Hillary Knight. Then we have 4, San Jose, 5, Las Vegas, so they get 2 picks there. Number 6, Hamilton. Number 7, New York. Number 8, Toronto. Number 9, Minnesota. Number 10, Boston. Number 11, Ottawa. And number 12, Montreal.
All right. I have a couple comments.
All right, let's hear them
on this order, and then we're going to go through and kind of do our predictions based on the draft selections that are out there. Going to be out there on Wednesday. One, just a reminder to our audience: Vancouver got that first slot because they won the Golden Draft points. So once teams are eliminated from playoff contention, they then have the remaining games to accumulate as many points as possible. It's an anti-tanking mechanism for the league that I think is really cool. I really want to understand, like, how did they decide? Did Seattle get like grandfathered up there ahead of the expansion teams because they were an expansion team last year?
Did they get like a point or two in the gold plan?
Well, they did. So they would have, if you had gone on Gold Plan, it would have gone Vancouver, Seattle. But I want to know, but then they decided to put all 4 expansion teams ahead of New York and Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to I'm curious.
I think it's a risky move. There's a lot of, at least on social media, no, social media is not everyone, but like there's a lot of people on social media saying like, you know, last year when the other expansions happened, right?
Yes.
So many teams got gutted. And it's like you're going to potentially do that. They're already getting a bunch of players from all of this expansion phases and whatnot. And now you're going to put them 4, 5, and 6 in the draft. Seems a little bit like too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting, to be honest. Now it's also interesting because like San Jose and Las Vegas, I don't know if like all like their whole where they're at is like too impressive, but like Hamilton and Detroit are stacked, yo. Like they don't deserve to get who are they? Well, we'll say it in a second, but like they're gonna get a top 5 pick,
exactly.
Right?
Well, not Detroit, but
not Detroit. That's true because they're.
But Vegas could now get 2 top. They're gonna get
Detroit
2 top.
Wishes they had that pick probably because they take that goalie. And then you'll notice too in the order that we just described, like the bottom 4 are the 4 teams that made the playoffs. Quite honestly, looking at what these teams have coming out of phase 4, I would say Minnesota and Montreal are like in great spots.
Yeah.
They have good balance across their offense and their defense. They had actually decent retention of some key
top talent
players. Whereas like Boston, I was like, y'all only have 2 defenders. They protected Megan Keller and Haley Wynn, and that is all that they have defensively. And then Ottawa is struggling a little bit there too. So anyways, we'll see how this all plays out. What we want to go to next is based on this draft order and based on who we know is coming out in the entry draft.
Yeah.
Who do we think might land where on the first round?
And I think we got to really shout out, I think it's Kyle Cushman _
Oh
PWHL
yeah.
on
Thank you,
Instagram.
Kyle.
Had a great graphic of the current rosters after all of these phases so far leading into the draft of what they have. And so it was really easy for us to kind of go through this draft order and decide where do we think everyone's going to land.
Yeah, honestly, Kyle, if you hadn't done that, we would not be doing this right now because we did it like an hour before we taped tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
So bless you.
Yes. All right. Number 1, Vancouver. It's very obvious who you're going to take.
KK Harvey comes up in the draft and you can't say no. It doesn't matter what you need.
Carolyn Harvey, defense out of Wisconsin. It's just a lot. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what team you are. This is who you're taking in this draft. 100%.
Yeah, the Patty Katzmeyer Award winner this past season. She was the MVP at the Olympics.
Yeah. And Vancouver's forward heavy, so currently, so it makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Moving to Seattle, we do think that they might take Layla Edwards. This is a little different than what I've seen some projections saying Abby Murphy will go second.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Seattle is light on defenders. They lost Barnes and Bilka, who I think really helped round them out there. I think Bilka's a forward. But they lost some kind of foundation back there. And so I feel like Layla too is so flexible in what she can play
anywhere.
That like she's another one that I would just, if she's on the board, I'd take her.
Yep, exactly. All right, Vegas. This is the number 3 pick, the pick they are likely to get from Detroit in that trade deal. Abby Murphy out of Minnesota.
Somehow this honestly feels like the best match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
I feel like somehow it works. They needed some firepower.
Yeah, they did.
Up front. They need some offense. They were really defender heavy in their kind of expansion process thus far. So I think that might be where she ends up. San Jose is next. We're going with Tessa Janicki, center from Penn State. Seems like a good kind of she's like one of the best players still available. San Jose kind of has I don't know. It feels like a little bit of a womp roster right now to me, and maybe she can add a little bit of flair and flavor to that group.
Yeah. Then we put Vegas' second pick. I'll just do both of Vegas tonight.
Vegas.
Kirsten Sims out of Wisconsin, another wing player there, just kind of bolstering, that firepower as well.
Mm-hmm. And then Hamilton, we go to Hamilton. Remember, they had a pretty good expansion process for them thus far. We are going Nelly Leitinen. She's a defender out of the University of Minnesota. She plays for the Finnish national team. They have a lot of really strong forwards in scoring offense, like scoring forwards. And I think getting a defender who is versatile, like Leitinen is going to be beneficial for them.
Yeah. Then we get down to New York. We're kind of looking at, based on their roster, just kind of who's the best available at the time. We're saying Lacey Eden, winger out of Wisconsin as well. Notice the pattern here. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State, Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Right. There's a lot of WCHA representation here. So for Toronto, moving to Toronto next, we thought they needed some offense. So we're going Izzy Wonder. She's a center out of Princeton. Canadian international, I believe, plays in their program there. But really looking at like where can you get a little bit more offensive firepower.
Yeah. And then for Minnesota, we're looking at, I really hope I'm pronouncing this right, Eliza Halapainen. She is a left winger out of the Swedish Women's Hockey League, Finland national team as well for the Olympics. So I think this was just another best available type thing for Minnesota, as we're relatively balanced with what we've got currently.
Yeah, and you'll notice here, Eliza is the first collegiate player that we're like U.S. collegiate player that we're putting out here. because we're less familiar with those players, it was hard to kind of slot them in. Whereas like
Yeah.
we've watched a lot of these other players
Yep.
play. It could be that there are some other international players who might go a
Yeah.
little bit
Yep.
higher.
Yeah.
So just disclaimer.
Yeah.
Going to Boston now. Yes, Boston. Best available defender. Like I said, they have no defenders.
Yep.
Emma Peschel of Ohio State. So again, a team that was in the NCAA championship. Good experience there.
Yeah.
Could be good for them.
Yeah. Ottawa, again, looking at probably best available defender at this point. We're thinking Sydney Morrow out of Minnesota. Yeah, I didn't even really see what Ottawa has. Are they forward heavy as well? Is that what
Yeah, they
our
were
look
more
was
forward
there?
heavy
Okay.
with what they had left.
We also did not put a goalie on this list. It'll be interesting if there's one goalie out there that could potentially go in the first round. So
Yes, there is, and Detroit is the team that has no goaltender as of right now. But alas, they don't get a pick in the first
they're really
round.
hoping that we're maybe correct on this first round right now.
Yeah, they really are. And then rounding us out, Montreal, they really could take whoever's best available. They have good balance. I mentioned that before across their roster. Coming out of the first 4 phases. So Sarah Swiderski, right-handed defender out of Ohio State,
Yep.
we thought might be a good match there. They did lose some defensive presence with Aaron Ambrose going to Vegas, things like that. So
I wonder if you could see them take a goalie to understudy under Davienne,
could
could really make Detroit mad.
Honestly, I could see almost any of these teams taking her.
Yeah.
I don't know how good she is, right? Like,
Yep.
is she better than
Yeah.
your starting goaltender? But maybe Toronto, they've got Reagan Kirk up there, maybe the Frost,
Yeah.
right? Maddie Rooney. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do we'll score our own draft card here after Wednesday night. Some players that we are just watching to see where they go, if they go. Megan Augusta, who I believe we've spoken about in the past, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, and the 4th leading scorer in NCAA history who has not played since the 2018 Olympics. Everyone, I'm going to tell you out of that first 12 names that we have read there, they all have a 2000 in front of their birth year. 2002, 2003, 2004. Megan Augusta up in 1987. 39 years old.
It's a good year.
It is a good year.
It's a good year. Yeah, what more can we say?
Yeah, I mean, she's gunning for it, and I'm hoping she gets a spot.
I'm here for it. And then the other one we have here on our like what to watch outside of the players we went through is Laura Fortino. So she's Italian, 1991, so just a little bit beyond your 87. She's a former Canadian national team and CWHL star who then skipped the early rounds of the PWHL to go play in to represent Italy in the Milan games. So she is coming out. We'll see how that goes. She's a defender, so could go in the mix.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Draft is Wednesday night. I believe it's 4 p.m. Central. And I think I have in what to watch which channel they're on. So when we get there, you will find out.
We will also learn the winners of the
awards as well. Yes, that is true. All right, switching gears to the WNBA.
All right, we have a couple things we want to focus on in this segment. We're going to shorten it up a little bit today, but we have to talk about the number 1 team at the time playing the number 2 team at the time. Yes, it was the Lynx.
Yep.
It's not our fault.
Sorry.
They were number 1. But that was an absolute banger of a basketball game.
Game of the week.
Lots of good things. So we're going to talk about that. And then we felt like after Alex's bold prediction of Olivia Miles, who is right now a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, easily.
But his bold prediction was, could she also be in the running for MVP? become the first to do it since I believe Candace
Parker. I think it was Candace Parker. I think I saw.
Did it in her rookie season. We felt like we needed to round out our potential MVP.
We'll talk about them
contenders.
I will say she is definitely in the talks as MVP.
I mean, there's more than just us saying that.
Yeah. So
get out of here.
All right, let's dig in.
Okay, so Lynx played the Aces on Saturday night. This was sort of like a game that we had, circled on the calendar. We had talked last week about how the Lynx hadn't really had a ton of big tests, but they had some coming up. So they went out and really just like decimated the Wings during the week. And then I think the Aces had a strong game against Portland during the week, and they've kind of been just on this like collision course of like, let's see best on best.
Yeah.
Well, the Lynx lost. The game ended 100-97.
Yep.
So very close game. It was not close the whole time. I believe the Aces were up at certain points by 15 or so points. And so I think we both have a couple of comments or notes on the game here. One, I just want to like give the Aces their flowers. They are really good when they're gelling. They're another one of those teams. I say this about the Lynx a lot, but where when they're on and things are going well, no one can beat them.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Like they have too many weapons. You've got Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Nalissa Smith. Like there's just like Kennedy Carter coming off the bench. Like you have one of the most elite sixth women in the league. And so I just, and then you've got Hall of Fame head coach Becky Hammond.
Yeah.
Right. Like she's coached at the highest level in the NBA and the WNBA. So like they are so good. They were so tough on defense. Chelsea Gray came out just on a heater, dropping threes right away in the first quarter. They are good.
They absolutely destroyed us on second chance points.
Destroyed.
Like it wasn't even close.
Yes, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so I think that takes me to my next thing, which is like, I think the Lynx had a lot of missed opportunities.
Yep.
So they gave up a lot of second chance points. You've got to rebound.
Yep.
You've got to make your free throws. That's something that right now for the Lynx, we have to do better at the free throw line.
100%.
And then there was just like down the stretch, there were some missed layups by us. There were some possessions that just like weren't really good. And when you're playing a team like the Aces, you can't have that, right? Now, the fact that we did not play our best game.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
Yep.
Right? Kind of had to grit it out to get to a position of having a shot to tie it, to go into overtime. And the Aces, frankly, seemed to play pretty well. Like, I don't know if there were any gaps that I would say, like, somebody was really off or, like, they didn't have it clicking.
Like everything was going in for them. Like, it felt good for them.
My bold statement is that the Lynx are still the best team in the league.
Okay. All right.
I think that obviously in sports, it does matter if you're on and if you're locked in and whatnot.
Yep.
I think you look at the Lynx and you say, hey, if they had, made a couple more free throws or made one or two, it's not like it was like, if they had made more shots, they would have won. It's like, this was like a matter of a couple of buckets.
One or two buckets.
And as we like to remind people, we still don't have Nafisa Collier.
No, we don't.
Last year's like runner up for MVP, right? And
like strong candidate.
Asia looked great.
Yeah.
Asia was fantastic. One of my favorite parts of the game was Olivia Miles driving all over Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think Kennedy Carter, even on the bench, had a few reactions.
Yeah, there's a video out there on Instagram like, you can find of her being like, what?
Oh Lord.
Oh my gosh.
What my two other things, Courtney Williams shots over Asia at a few points. I was like, girl, why are you shooting that? And then she'd make it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening? And then Natasha Howard, she fouled out about 5 minutes left to go in the 4th, but, like, she just willed that team
Yeah.
through
Yeah,
the
she
first
did.
half. The first half was not very good for the Lynx. Olivia Miles kinda found her groove in the 2nd,
Yep.
but Tasha really, like, just willed the team through with effort, chasing
Yeah.
balls down, things like that. So,
Yeah,
great game.
I think mine kind of picks up where Natasha Howard left off. Is it felt like Olivia Miles in that last 5 minutes or so, 2 minutes that she played or whatever it was,
Oh,
that she went
yeah.
back in. Is like she was trying to now will the team
Yeah.
to win. She absolutely was in control there. She took the last shot, 3-pointer, missed. Like wasn't a bad look at all. You kind of had to go for it. I just think she was just trying to will this team to a win, which I thought was really impressive by her. Um, same notes as you, basically missed opportunities, second chance points. Something you brought up last night was the officiating felt really fair. Like I feel like for the first, we watch a lot of WNBA. That was probably the first one where it felt really,
I
really
didn't
fair.
notice the refs,
Yeah.
and that's how it should be,
Yeah.
right? Like, I shouldn't really notice that you are having a big influence on the
Yeah.
game,
Yep.
right? I thought foul calls were
Yeah.
fair.
I thought it was good. And then yeah, Ace, they're the real deal. Like they were, I was really impressed. Like I thought we were actually going to come out and kind of take the lead, but they are the real deal.
Yeah, they kind of found the gas pedal right away and
Yeah.
like did not relent on it. One final kind of related to the refereeing thing. There were a few moments where you could see like the players were visibly frustrated. One of my favorite parts of the game, I saw it immediately when it happened,
Yeah.
was Liv was like kind of like gesticulating at kind of towards the referee of like that wasn't a foul, that wasn't a foul, and it was kind of right in front of Cheryl. And Cheryl was basically like, "You knock that off.
You go
We don't
play the
do that
game. You
here."
play the game.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the ref.
Focus. My job is to talk to the
Yeah, yeah, I
referee.
thought that was really good.
And I love that because I think, keep her focused on you gotta score and you gotta distribute. Now, again, credit to the aces. Liv did not have the assists we're used to seeing from her. She had one
Yep.
assist in that game. They were all over the passing lanes, but she found a way to produce through points,
Yeah.
right? So, I think her overall kind of production number was probably about the same as
Yep.
what we get, just more on the point side versus the assist
Yeah,
side.
absolutely. All right, we're going to talk about rounding out this list of MVP contenders that we have. So let's talk Olivia Miles first. My note here is she the MVP in a Rookie of the Year trench coat? Um, and so if we go through the stats here, and I think the thing as I was putting these stats together was that stats are very, very important in the MVP conversation, but it's
Mhm.
also most valuable player for other reasons. And I think there
Mhm.
are some intangibles that you might
Totally.
see that will push someone, like
Totally.
if she is the person who is willing this team to win every night.
Yep.
That's another thing in the conversation. So she's got 18.6 points per game over 31-minute average, 53.5% field goal percentage, 39% 3-point or three percentage,
Yep.
5.1 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists per game, and 3.2 turnovers.
Mhm. So
So,
about that 2-to-1 ratio you
yeah,
want to see in a point guard, somebody who's handling the ball a lot. Um, Good shooting. She's right. I don't know what her free throws are at, but she's knocking on the door of that
yeah,
50-40-90
yeah,
club.
for sure. Yep.
So,
You
who we
want me to
got
take
next?
you
Or
want to,
you want me to
I can
go?
take I can take the next
All
one too.
right. All right.
I have Kelsey Plum, who we
Ayo.
have the point scoring queen on a middle of the pack team.
And
She
because of that, like I feel like no one's talking about her.
Yes,
I
yeah,
don't know why no one's talking
yeah,
about her.
that's the thing. Like they are literally right in the middle of the pack as of this afternoon. And so like I feel like it's just, let's look at the stat line here.
Look at the stat line.
26.6 points per game over 35 minutes average, 55.5 field goal percentage, 41.4% three pointers, 2.2 rebounds per game, 6.9 assists, 3.4 turnovers.
Yeah, I am nervous to play the Sparks.
Yeah.
I think we play them next and like Kelsey Plum is a player that can will her team to
Yeah.
win,
Yeah.
makes players around her better. It's been interesting. She had that injury, so she had to sit out a
Yeah.
couple games. Her like points per minute ratio, because she's played less games, right? But her
Mhm.
points per game are so high, she's leading the league
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
right now. Um,
I think
you
I think
just
she led the league in total points even over the course of those games
Yeah,
that she
we
sat
talked
out.
about
Yeah.
that. We talked about that. She was like still leading the league. I do think that, to your point before, like the Sparks have to at least
They have
make the
Yeah,
playoffs
they really
for
do.
her to be in
They
that
do.
discussion, because it isn't just like statistically you're the best
Yeah.
player, right?
Yep.
It's most valuable, and that
Yeah.
usually also means you have to
You have to play.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's got the pieces around her, to be clear.
Yeah.
We've talked about that too. Like they're just looking to gel. So we'll see. All right. My two, the player we've already talked about, Asia Wilson. She looks like an MVP. She just has like that presence.
Yeah.
She's doing all the things. She is shooting an insane clip from three. What is she? 55%
Yeah,
basically
that's
from behind the
insane.
arc, 52% from the floor. Overall, 26.2 points on 32 minutes a game, 9.3 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1.2 steals, 2.4 blocks. So when I look at steals and blocks, right? Usually that is blocks are the one that's a little bit questionable, but usually that's resulting in a turnover, right, for
Yeah.
the other team. So you're looking at somebody who is creating potentially 3.5 turnovers
Yeah.
per game by the other team, while she herself turns the ball over 2.7 times a game.
Yeah.
So really high efficiency rating. Um, you know, she's on a really good team. They're probably going to do really well this season. I her three level scoring too is crazy. She's worked a lot on her 3-point shot, but like her ability to hit the mid range, her ability to get to the
Yeah.
bucket, we saw that on display in the
Yeah.
game over the weekend. Um, Hard to say no to her. Do we need an MVP for the fifth time and like the third time in a row or whatever it is right
Yeah.
now? Like, I don't know, but hey, if you're
Yeah.
performing at that level, then yeah, you probably deserve it.
I think on paper, on paper right now, she is the MVP. I think in my mind,
Yeah,
I think
I think that's right.
my prediction on Miles is that if she continues the way she's going and only gets better, it's
Yeah,
going to be a tougher conversation.
yeah, agree. So then my other kind of outside looking in, and somebody who we have definitely not talked a lot about, and I actually don't even think I've really seen her come up too much in just kind of the general chatter. And frankly, like I feel like no one's talking about the Liberty. I
Yeah.
feel like we should be.
Yeah.
I said last week I have to give myself a shout out here for a
Yeah.
second. I said last week that they had, over this next run of 5 games, the best chance of the teams in the top 5 to change their position in the
Yeah.
pecking order. Well, folks, they are now in third in the
Yeah.
league. They're leading the Eastern Conference, and Brianna Stewart is somebody who I think we've got to have on
Yeah.
MVP watch. So 19.9 points per game on 32.6 minutes, 44% from the floor. She is not really a 3-point shooting big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe she hits one every once in a while, but that's not part of her game. 9 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.4 blocks on 2.4 turnovers. She's got one of the highest efficiency ratings in the league right now. Um, Another team that just like I think has all the pieces and they're going to make a run at it, right? They've
Yeah.
qualified for the Commissioner's
Yep.
Cup final. So Stewie is on my watch list for both like individual statistics, but I think the way that she runs that team
Yep.
out in New York.
I don't know if the games have just been at weird times for us or if they've not been on our channels, but like
Yeah,
I
they
just
haven't come
we haven't gotten a
around
good
really.
chance to watch a lot of their games.
Yeah,
So it
we'll
feels
definitely.
kind of feels and everything I see on social media is never about the play. It's about
About
Ellie.
Ellie.
Apparently it was her birthday
I
the other
know, and she
day.
brought in her friends.
Yeah, I saw that.
She brought in Violet, the Valkyrie bird thing. I don't know. And then Sky, who's the Chicago Sky mascot, and
They
they like did a
they had
dance.
her doing like the fit check through the tunnel.
Oh my God. I love it. I am here for Ellie. Like that is, speaking of marketing,
Oh, yeah, it's really
genius.
good.
Genius.
All right. We got to move it on. We got to talk about the national team. We got to talk about the
Man.
chaotic game that was game 2 against Brazil.
Yeah, so let's just recap the game a little bit here. I believe the US started with 6 changes to their starting lineup compared to the prior game. Um, we US won 1-0, as Alex mentioned. That goal came in the second half on just a superb effort by Sophia Wilson
Yeah.
to fend off not one but two defenders, kind of break into space, take a shot, did get deflected off of a Brazilian
Yeah.
defender into the back of the net. It was ultimately called an own goal, but it doesn't get there if she doesn't take
Yeah.
the shot, right? That honestly felt like the way that you had to score on Lorena that night. Lorena made the Brazilian goalkeeper made some crazy saves.
Yeah.
Emma Sears had one really good opportunity, and then Soph was right there on the doorstep and just couldn't put it in. Trinity Rodman had a really close range
Yep.
shot. Like, she came up big in the moments that she needed to. What took the headlines, though, was the cards. So
Yeah.
there were 23 yellow cards handed out in this game between both teams, and there were 8 red cards.
Yeah.
There were, I think, of the 8, I believe 4 were straight reds and
Mhm.
4 were accumulation
Yeah.
yellows. And you had the Brazilian head coach, Arthur Elias, doing kind of being
Ye
an ass on the
Yeah,
sideline,
it kinda
frankly.
it was weird because it kinda started with the ref making him put on a penny because he wore the same color as the US team's jerseys.
You know the
Yeah, you know
you
the
know the
rules.
jersey colors of the other team before you come out on the pitch.
And then I think he got the red card on kicking one of the reserve balls off the
Yes.
tee,
And
and
then
then
proceeded to not leave the field, which was very disrespectful.
proceeded to take the penny and put it on the ref's shoulder like,
Also
"Here you
very
go." Very, very
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
He was not doing his team any favors in any
No.
of this.
And so of those 8 reds, 4 were coaches, including the head coach, Arthur Elias. Presumably the other ones were for things said to the referee, which, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, that happens. But he kind of set the stage
Yeah.
for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple red cards happen on the field just as a result
Yeah.
of play. You had Tassiane just like line up an elbow to Sophia Wilson's face at one point. Marta got a card and she was on the pitch for maybe like 15 minutes at the
Yeah.
end. We played a ton of extra time. Like, all in all, it was very, very chaotic. So the first game, remember, we talked about like, could you stay disciplined? That
Yeah.
was sort of the thing. My whole thing going into this set of friendlies was, can we stay disciplined?
Yeah.
And kind of got to them in that first 15, 20 minutes of game
Yep.
1. In this one, if I am Emma Hayes, I saw almost exactly what I want to see.
Yeah.
They stayed disciplined, they stayed composed, they created a lot of chances. I think if I'm harping on them for one thing, it's that you have to convert the chances you
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
But
They kind of also played into Brazil's game a little bit in the sense that if you're gonna do all this, we're maybe gonna embellish a little. There's a few spots where they decided like, hey, we'll take this a
Emily
little bit.
Sonnet
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, it was more or
Mostly
less one
that.
player who knows how they play. She's a
Yeah.
veteran. She understood how the ref was playing the game. That is part of these
Yeah.
games. I can understand why the Brazilian players were very frustrated with her. I think Marta called her out on social media being like, "Hey, Hollywood, give this actress a look." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm sitting there, I'm like, sure, like, because your players were also doing it all night long.
Yeah.
But going back to your comment of not only was there some embellishment or like leaning into what was going on, Emma made roster changes that clearly indicated she wanted to match Brazil's physicality,
Yeah.
right? So we had Avery Patterson start on the outside. She was fantastic in
Yeah.
there. You had Kennedy Wesley start at center back, which I I said that. I said we
You
should do
did. You
that, and we
did.
did that, and she was great, right? We had Michelle Cooper, who started up top, really brought a physical presence as a winger for us, and
Mhm.
then Emma moved her to right back in the second half to bring Trinity Rodman on and take Emily Fox off, and she played great back there.
Yeah.
I think for me, that performance honestly helped solidify her in the World Cup roster because she now just showed versatility.
Yeah.
She can play multiple positions and get kind of results in that way at
Yeah.
different points on the pitch. So I thought that was really important to see, to kind of say, hey, Emma's thinking like I'm gonna change it up a little bit, and like we know this is gonna be disruptive. We have to kind of play within the disruption
Yeah.
versus trying to play around the
Yeah.
disruption, right? Um, Couple other notes that I have down here, and then I do wanna share a Emma quote
Yeah.
before we go. So, after game 1, I was really curious about some things, right? I thought our defense, I had a lot of questions. Like I said just now, I think bringing Wesley in really helped.
Yep.
She plays a very similar style to Naomi Girma, just in her communication and things like that. Um, I think that we uh, sped up the building out of the back. Brazil plays a very, very aggressive high press. And in the first game, that really hurt us. We saw a lot of balls, if they were played back to Dickey or even some of the center backs, where we just decided to go more direct upfield. They were
Yep.
really trying to find Lindsay Heaps's head so she could flick on to the forwards running off of her. And I thought that that was a really, really smart
Yeah.
adjustment.
Yeah.
Um, I had wanted to see more of Olivia Moultrie. We did get to see her
Yeah.
in this game, but my god, at that point, I couldn't tell if what
If it was
like,
helping
if it
it,
was
yeah.
like, how she showed because it was so
So
disrupted
chaotic.
and disorienting at that point. Um, and I thought overall, I thought the team did well, and I think Emma would agree with us, right? I think coming out of game 1, she was really challenging them to embrace the madness, contain that, right? Was one of her quotes, and she said that she thought they would be better as a result of that game, and
Yeah.
I think she walks away from game 2 saying, "We're better,"
Yeah.
and I'll read her words
Yeah.
and not mine. So, she says, uh I was going to say this was in the post-game huddle to her players, and if you go find this video, her players, like, look, like, emotional hearing this, but she says, quote, "I was going to say, regardless of the result, that I didn't care about the outcome because the process for me is far more valuable. It doesn't matter whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's us, having to contain our emotions in this game. I am so proud of us. I am so proud of our group. I am so proud of how we stuck together." And then in the post game presser, she went on to kind of build on that, right? And to say, if you cannot take responsibility to be in these situations, to thrive, to cope with the demands and everything that comes with that, to find joy from the beautiful crowd, from the noise, from Marta, a real legend, and to stand there as a coach with such pride for my players, proud of everything. That is what can happen when you have a growth mindset. This is what can happen if you're not focused on the result. We are growing.
I don't know how many times we can say that we'd run through a wall for Emma Hayes, but there it is.
She is a wizard.
Yeah.
Or a witch, actually, maybe a witch. So sloppy game. I think the US made the most of it. I will be curious. We won't see them back on the pitch, I think, until October.
Oof.
If I remember my windows correctly. I think in our next episode we can talk a little bit about, who has qualified for the World
Yeah.
Cup, and as we lead into that, there have been some more qualifications coming out of
Yep.
Europe. So it would be good to hit on that and give a recap on what to
Yeah,
expect next.
absolutely. All right. Let's wrap her out here. We got what to watch. As we talked about earlier, the PWHL draft is Wednesday, the day that this releases, 4 p.m. Central Time in Detroit. So yeah, will be fun to kind of dig into that and see how accurate we were on our guesses.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess if you want to watch that, my gut would say if you PWHL
YouTube
YouTube,
probably, yeah.
because they're good about putting things
Yeah.
up there. Production value is pretty good, so I would tune into YouTube.
Yep. Moving into the WNBA, I picked one per day here. Oof. Friday, Minnesota Lynx at the Golden State Valkyrie, Friday, June 19th, 9 p.m. Central on Ion. So, I mean, Golden State always, they're ballers too.
Tough.
So, here we go.
And that's in Valhalla, I believe.
It is.
So that is a tough place to go play.
That's going to be a test. Saturday, Indiana Fever at Atlanta Dream.
Clark v. Reese.
Look at this. That'll be noon Central Time on ABC. So check that out. It's gonna be that'll be a good one.
That's actually a really interesting game. I kind of said that a little bit tongue in cheek because I don't know. I don't know if that's still a thing. But you've got the Dream, who now they're in second, but they've dropped to like fourth or so in the league, and the Fever are on a 3-game win streak right now. And so like, how does that?
Yeah.
Are they right there? Right by the time this game gets played, that's gonna be good.
And then we have Sunday. We have the New York Liberty at the Los Angeles Sparks. We don't have a set time yet. Prime time is what we were told. ESPN. It is the first women's sports Sunday game.
And we're finally not playing within conference because we are done with the Commissioner's Cup slate. So you've got an East versus West. We talked about the Sparks a little bit. They're not they're kind of middle of the pack right now. But always game to upset someone.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Women's Elite Rugby, again, all these are on Women's Sports Network, and they're all on Sunday. 1 p.m., we've got the TC Gemini versus the Chicago Tempest. 4 p.m., the Denver Onyx versus the New York Exiles. And 7 p.m., the Bay Breakers versus the Boston Banshees.
All right.
And then we have the LPGA, the Meyer LPGA Classic, Belmont, Michigan, at Blythe Field Country Club. You can catch us on Golf Channel, CBS, or stream it on NBC Sports, Peacock, and Golf Channel. That's all weekend.
Yeah, and then don't forget the, I think on the Tennis Channel, the Berlin Tennis Open is going on. Serena, like we said at the beginning, she plays in doubles starting on Tuesday, but there's a whole tournament going on there. So keep your eyes on that if you want to watch tennis.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Momentum and setbacks.
Ooh. You have yours? Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I said the U.S. women's team taking one from Brazil. I mean, we just talked about it, so I don't think I have to go in depth. Going into a hostile environment and grabbing one is, I think, going to be good momentum for this team as they continue to move towards the World Cup.
Yeah, agree. I think I would agree with that from a momentum perspective. I also I am kind of curious to see as the buzz around the Men's World Cup kind of continues to amplify, right, and get louder. Does that carry over? Is there a carryover effect to the NWSL? I know we're missing that right now a little bit. But yeah, I think that's
all right.
That's how I'm thinking about momentum.
Setbacks. I actually have, I think, 2. One I just came up with. First one is Lynx losing to the Aces.
That's mine too.
Not really setback, just kind of the opposite of momentum a little bit. It would have been really nice for them to win that game.
I think for me, it was kind of like the national team losing to Brazil in that first game. And I said last week where
not unexpected at all.
And I think they can convert it into momentum. the setback would have been more like, would they come out tonight against Portland and like just totally flatline, and they did not.
Yeah. Yep. I think the other one that I had was the Eugenia ACL.
Oh yeah, yes.
And like we talked about what's going to happen while the NWSL is away, who's going to come back with maybe some energy or whatever, right? And where does that land? And so I think that's a bummer
really
for San Diego.
San Diego. Yeah, that's just, again, a bummer as a women's sports fan.
Yeah. Yep.
But specifically a women's soccer fan, she just was playing some really fantastic football, and we wish her a really speedy recovery. But the timing, again, couldn't be worse for the World Cup coming up next kind of late June, early July. So you got about a year. I don't know.
It's gonna be hard, but
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I would love to see her back on the pitch for that.
Do you have a setback? Or are you just gonna
My setback was the Lynx.
Oh, okay.
That was mine.
Okay.
And Eugenia.
Okay.
I have maybe Victoria Mboko's injury, so her and Serena couldn't. I actually was curious to see their partnership kind of like continue. So maybe we'll see them again. And but other than that, no, I don't. All right. Not a ton of setbacks.
All right. RTG_pod at Instagram and Threads. Raising the Game podcast on Substack, YouTube, Raising the Game podcast at gmail.com, rtgpod.com.
Yeah, subscribe, share, comment. We love reading the comments.
Tell people. Yeah, we love reading the comments.
We do.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Till next week, y'all. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.